Hey everyone, and welcome back to Small Screen Sagas. I'm your host, Nicole, and today I'll be talking about from Season 2, Episode 2, entitled The Kindness of Strangers. Very good episode. So many things happened with Boyd and his arm and Elgin. What does he know? And it was good. It was a really good episode. So let's start talking about Ellis and Fatima. As I mentioned in episode 1, we do see them run off. Well, Fatima runs after a few of the passengers from the bus, and then Ellis runs after her. So we see them, they're back at the post office / jail, normally where Boyd sleeps. And Ellis is telling Fatima, we need to get inside. It's clearly dark right now. But she's still trying to yell out to the people, like, come on, you need to get inside. You need to run. Do not talk to these people. They're going to hurt you. Like, she's begging. She doesn't want to see any more death. She just saw a lot of her friends killed at the Colony House, I think 2 nights prior. So emotions are running high right now for Fatima. And Ellis gets them in, like, within seconds. To me, it was way too close. And I'm trying not to judge Fatima because I love her character. She's always so positive. That's what I always mentioned in season 1. She's always the positive one. Everyone has their breaking point, though. This was hers. But I did not like that they came so close. Like, she let those monsters get way too close. They barely made it inside. And then when she starts to hear the passenger people die, because you see them outside the window or door, and you see them walking towards the monsters because they probably think, oh, these are other people. But no, they're monsters. We hear them brutally get killed. And Fatima's banging on the glass door. And I'm just like, girl, what if that glass door breaks? Like, don't let your emotions make you do something stupid. And not talking about her. Once again, we're not in her shoes. But I was kind of a little disappointed in her at this. I was like, get it together. And I feel for Ellis because he's like, he can't do anything. Like, he had to physically stop her from going outside. And Julie sort of did that same thing. They had to physically stop her from going outside. And it's like, you guys do know you go outside, you're not going to be able to fight the monsters. You may be able to run away from them. But once you're out there running, it's open season at that point. You don't know how far you're going to be able to run, if they'll corner you, whatever. It's very stupid to go outside at night knowing what happens when you go outside at night. But he's able to get her in. He's able to calm her down. And she's like, I just can't take it anymore. I don't know how much longer I can do this. So I hope something positive happens. I hope maybe something with the radio. Well, I don't know. The radio, obviously, it worked. But did it really work? Or was that them imagining a voice? Because now we know that voice is someone that knows Jim. So it could be a monster. I don't know. So maybe that plan is done. It's a dud because the only people they got on the radio are someone that knows who they are. But hopefully Fatima, this was just like a moment for her. Hopefully she'll be back to herself the next time we see her. Then we have Jim and crew. They are in the crushed house, in Jim's crushed house right now. One of the passengers from the bus that had came in earlier to help Jim dig for Tabitha had got stuck with him. His name is Brick. He wakes up. He starts to freak out because, it looks like an earthquake happened and all this rumbles on top of you. And they tell him, you have to be chill. You have to stay quiet. We know you're in pain, but it's important that you stay quiet. But then Brick starts to freak out when he hears the screaming. He's like, what the fuck? He doesn't know what's going on. He hasn't heard the message. He doesn't know what's happening. And he starts to freak out because he hears screaming. And they say, stop it. Or it's going to be you next. And then he starts bleeding from the mouth. Slowly throughout the episode, we see him freak out a few more times. Eventually, he is choking on his own blood. And he dies. He dies from his wounds from the house falling on him. In a way, I'm just saying, that was a better death than what Tom ended up getting. So even though now Brick is dead, he wasn't quiet soon enough because obviously the monsters were close enough to hear him. And at this point, they do come in and they kill Tom, or one of them comes in and brutally kills Tom. We do see his body out on the ground the next day. Luckily, the monster didn't know that Jim was there as well because he was in a different spot. So he is able to make it overnight. So I really feel for Brick because he didn't know what was happening. One minute he's on a bus, next minute he's helping some people out, out of a cave falling in a house. And I think him or one of the other guys were like, how does this happen? Like, a house doesn't just fall in on itself. It's an unfortunate death for him and for Tom, our bartender that's been here since season 1, that's always kind of been just chill. This is how it is. This is what it is. I know everyone's going to need a drink when the radio tower doesn't work. We liked Tom. We really did. It's unfortunate that he is no longer going to be with us. Let's talk about the diner. A lot happened in the diner. Kenny, we saw, he got everybody in. He's like, get in, shut up. Donna's there with her gun, and she's like, I know you guys are scared. I know this looks bad, but we are not your enemy. The enemy is out there, and everyone sees the tree. But then when she brings up the tree, later on, one of the other guys is like, the tree, did you guys put the tree out there? How long did it take you? Dude, that was a big-ass tree. I don't know how many people it would take to put that tree out on the road. A lot of people. A lot of people. You're not making sense here. But before things get crazy there, we also see Christy meeting up with her fiance, her ex-fiance. And after that initial hug and embrace of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. Now the fiance is kind of like, wait, you were here this whole time. You've been gone for 6 months and you've only been 2 hours away? She's pissed. She's like, you joined a cult. We were looking for you. Your mom was looking for you. Your family. We've called the police. Like, I can't believe that. We were supposed to meet for lunch and you just never showed up. So before Christy can kind of tell her what's going on, I want to talk about this time frame. Because in season 1, I mentioned, is the time same? Is the time different here in the real world and all that? And that's probably because it's something that Christy had said earlier in the season. So we know Christy's been there for 6 months. The fiance just mentioned 6 months. Earlier, Boyd was telling something to Christy, and she's like, if you would have told me this 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't believe you, but now I do. So she referenced 6 months there as well. The only reason I wondered if the timing was different, and it might have just been a play on words, it might have just been a misunderstanding, but earlier in this season 1, they were talking to Christy about the ambulance or something. And she's like, oh, yeah, when she was telling Jim, he's like, where'd you get the saline from or something? She's like, yeah, a few years back, we stripped the ambulance. She said a few years back. So I just assumed she had been there for a few years. But then they mentioned the 6 months. So which one is it? Did Christy not come on that ambulance if it had been there for a few years? And then furthermore, when they were taking everything apart from the ambulance, she was like, Troy, she mentioned somebody named Troy is not going to like this, but oh well, like we're doing that for the radio tower. So then it kind of made me think, well, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it was stripped a few years ago from the ambulance, not necessarily that Christy was the one on it. But if someone else came on the ambulance, not Christy, and they're still there, because she says Troy as if in present tense, like he's still alive, then wouldn't that mean there's someone else there besides Christy with medical knowledge, and we haven't seen anyone else besides her, and now her fiance have medical knowledge? So I don't know. I might have sounded confusing with all I just said, but either they messed up on the time frame of the ambulance or something's not adding up, because she said a few years back, we got this from the ambulance, or they got this from the ambulance. So that's where my whole theory of, is the time the same? Now, one thing I'll know, and I know I keep saying it, it's just, I'm going to keep saying it. The music, everything was so Lost heavy when they transitioned from scene to scene. Like, it's almost the music they play on Lost. But this line that Mary says to Christy was really, to me, from Lost. It was almost quote by quote. That's when Christy's like, you can't leave. And she's like, you don't get to tell me what I can and can't do. If you are a fan of Lost, you already know who said those lines. I don't even have to tell you. You know who said those lines. They're sort of like iconic. Well, everything in Lost is iconic, but that's a line that you remember. There's certain things that people said on that show that you, like, I'll remember that came from that show. Live together, die alone. There's a lot of different things. See you on the other side, brother. I can go on and on and on, right? There's some famous sayings from Lost. Not Penny's boat. I can continue. But anyway, there's a famous line from the "You can't tell me what I can and can't do." It was not exact, but it was very, very close to what they said on Lost. And I'm like, I don't know if y'all just want to throw that line in. If they have any more lines, though, directly or semi-directly from Lost, I'm like, okay, y'all might have just well called it Lost's other sister, because it's really close. Then we have Kenny. He's trying to stop Julie from going out. Like, he keeps telling her, yo, you keep drawing attention, or if you keep looking out the window, you're going to draw attention to the house, and then your father won't be safe. And he tries to distract her, asking, like, what's her favorite book? And I think Kenny was also trying to distract himself. Not saying now he's going to crush on Julie because Christy's completely off the market now that her fiance's here. But I think he is trying to form a relationship or a friendship with someone. And we saw how much him and Christy enjoyed reading the same book together and everything like that. He obviously likes reading books. He starts asking Julie, hey, what's your favorite book? And she's like, you're just trying to distract me. And yeah, of course he is. But at the same time, I think he's also trying to form a friendship now that he feels like he may not have that friendship anymore with Christy. So then later on, I don't get this scene actually, because we see Donna watching some of the passengers, and it's clear that they are planning something. She's watching them, they're planning something, and I'm like, okay, she's gonna keep an eye on that. And then it feels like moments later, we actually see one of them gets up. He is able to get Kenny's gun and puts it to his head, and was like, yeah, I can hear the screams, I don't see anything. Like, he's still being a little skeptical, you know. He's like, yeah, right, like, you know, I've been to haunted houses, I can hear, those are screams, I don't know if those are real or not. I want to be able to see with my own eyes. So he's about to try to bring Kenny out there and go take a look, and Donna says, no, you're gonna have to shoot him, and then when you do, I'm gonna shoot you, because that door is not coming open. It's not happening, or we will all die. And luckily they get a moment to like take a break. They hear something and they're able to stop him and like take the gun and everything like that. And I think when the passengers see how broken down Julie was, when they're like, no, Julie, you know you can't go outside, and they stop her from going outside, and she's on the ground crying. She gave an amazing scene there. On the ground crying. The emotion, the impact of what it means to be outside at night is very strong. And I think that's what actually got them to just chill, because she's crying hard and these people obviously know her and they're saying, no, you know you can't go out there. And I thought that was just a very impactful scene. I'll now talk about some bus adjacent or diner adjacent scenes, which is one of them is the bus. We see one of the monsters get on the bus. He's like touching the steering wheel, sitting down as if he's driving it. It's like, it's too creepy, right? And he doesn't know those people are on the bus, which is brings back to the sixth senses. He doesn't have any extra senses. But when they make some noise, he hears them and he tells them, you picked a bad spot, as if they're playing hide and seek. And I was like, this is a bad spot. You picked a bad hiding spot, and they're brutally killed. Which leads us to the next day when everyone gets off the bus and Julie goes and runs to her father. We see that bus driver get on the bus. One thing I didn't like about this scene is we see blood splattered on the windows, from inside the bus. Let's just say, for argument's sake, the bus driver was not on that side of the bus, on that side where the blood was splattered all over the window. Or maybe somehow you just couldn't see that blood come through the window. But the moment you get on a bus and you actually get on the bus, you can see up and down the entire aisle. You don't have to walk down the aisle of the bus to get a closer look to see what's in the aisle. You can see everything. The way they shot it was like her walking slow, and then when she gets closer on, she sees a body and goes, girl, you saw that body? You had to see it as soon as you got on the bus. You could see the whole aisle. You didn't have to walk all the way up to the body to acknowledge that there was a body. It would have made more sense if they had her good on the bus and then immediately scream and freak and get off. Like, versus go and get a closer look. Like, clearly there's a dead body. There's blood everywhere. You can see it as soon as you get on the bus. So her walking all the way up to it, seeing the first body and going, and then having to walk closer to the second body and go, and get out. Like, that wasn't necessary. She should have did that way back where the bus driver sits, like from the front of the bus. But I know they wanted to do it for dramatic sake, but it just didn't make sense, like, conceptually, because as soon as you get on the bus, you can look down the aisle, and if there's a dead body all bloodied on the aisle of a bus, it doesn't matter if it's on the front of the bus or the back of the bus, you would see it immediately when you get on. I'll move on. So we get Victor and Tabitha. They actually, they made it out last episode, so now they're running, hiding, looking for a safe place. They find a truck. Victor already has it decked out with all his goodies, but he does say, we gotta be quiet because there's no talisman in here. And I'm surprised Victor didn't have a talisman. Like, once the talisman came available, were there not extra ones? It kind of goes back to one of the questions on Jim's wall, which is, how many of them are there? How many talisman are there? Because it seems like Victor at this point would have had one in his little second home. But he has snacks on there. They're old. And I like how he first was offering Tabitha a cookie. She was like, he's like, well, you don't got to eat it if you don't want to eat it. She's like, no, I'll take it. I'll take it. But while waiting on the bus, that's when Boyd shows up. So let's go back a little to discuss what happened with Boyd this episode, and then we can talk about when they all meet up. So Boyd, he he got out of the hole or the well, and there's another dead person. There's actually 2 other dead bodies. I noticed in this episode, there's 2 other dead bodies hung up the same way Martin is hung up. And he's trying to help Martin. He's old. He looks like he's dying. And he always says, I always thought the town was the worst part. Then I went through the tree. He's like, did you go through the tree? Boyd's like, yeah, I went through the tree. And Boyd tries to ask him questions like, well, how long have you been here? And he's like, I used to count the days. I definitely lost track after counting the years. But it's been a very long time since he's seen the kindness in someone's face. And I think that's where the title comes from, the kindness of strangers. And he's a Marine. And Boyd refuses to leave him for that reason. He's like, no, we never leave a man down. And he's like, but Martin's like, if you want to help me, then just kill me. Just kill me if you want to help me. And I think with Boyd being a soldier, I don't even want to put this on him being a soldier. Just, I don't know. To me, there is a level of a quality of life that I feel. And if it's to the point where someone looks like this, like Martin, and they've been through whatever the hell he's been through, look at him. And he's telling you, kill him, just kill him. What kind of life is that after? And I know everyone has their own ideas of like not to kill or every life is precious. I get it. But if I went through whatever I'm assuming Martin has gone through, I don't want to live anymore. Like, okay, so you saved me. Now I have to live with that trauma physically, mentally, emotionally. How will he ever have a good quality of life after this? Look at him. It's not like he's been in there for a couple weeks hostage. He's been there for years. Just know, have some grace. You're helping him would be killing him. And I wish Boyd would have just done that, because then next thing you know, and we don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing yet, but Martin deliberately scratches Boyd with the chain from his arm and like gets his blood inside Boyd's blood. And he tells him, he says, now my blood is your blood. Oh, but I'm jumping ahead. So before even that, Boyd is trying to talk to Martin. He shows him the talisman. He says, these things can protect us. And that's when Martin's like, you think the monsters that come out at night, like come out in the woods, did this to me? Nah, they're not this creative. Like, we already see the monsters. They pretty much just kill you. Like, they brutally kill you, but they kill you. They don't leave you up for years. So he's like, you think they did this to me? They're just the tip of the spear. And that's when the music box starts playing, and Martin says they are coming. Nightmares you can't even believe. You were never even supposed to see something this damn dark. And to get out before the music stops. But Boyd doesn't listen. He looks at the music case. I tried to look at the ballerina that's dancing in this music box. And I don't know if I'm tripping or if it was old, but it looks like a monster ballerina. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping because I kept looking. I'm like, is that a monster ballerina dancing? But it kind of looked, maybe because it was old, but it sort of looked like a monster ballerina. But while Boyd's trying to get Martin's chains undone, and this is before he scratches him, Martin asks Boyd if if you ever wonder if Abby was right and that this is just a dream. And that's when we see the worms crawling on his arm, and he deliberately scratches him, and my blood is your blood now. And the music stops. Martin dies. Boyd goes outside, and now the area that they were just in is disappeared. It's almost like he was seeing that or whatever, was imagining that wasn't there. And that's when the dog, aka Vincent, I'm going to call him Vincent. If we find out the dog is named something else, we'll change it. But right now, Vincent comes, barks friendly at Boyd, and Boyd follows him. And while they're walking through the woods, Boyd does run into the monsters. Now, he hides behind a tree, and they walk right past him, but it does feel like it could be one of two things. Because the first time watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, whatever Martin did to Boyd has now made him invisible to the monsters. But now that I've watched it a few more times, I'm starting to think maybe the monsters just didn't see Boyd. He was hiding behind the tree. Maybe it's possible they just did not see him because he was hiding behind the tree and they don't have extra senses. So it's possible, but I don't know. The way they walked by and the way that Boyd was so surprised that they didn't see him or come towards him, because at first I thought they were going to cover him, make a circle around him and try to trap him, but they didn't do that. So it's either they didn't see him or he is now invisible to the monsters. So we'll see where that goes. And that's when Boyd connects with Victor and Tabitha because they hear some knocking on their truck door. They open it up. It's Boyd. Behind Boyd, when Boyd gets in, and it's right after Boyd gets in, then they see LJ running as well. And Boyd was about to close the door on LJ. We don't know you. And Elgin's like, please, they are killing people out here. So they let Elgin in and was able to close the door at the nick of time. Luckily, Boyd did have a talisman with him because now that they saw where they were, they definitely were going to come in and they would have been able to get Victor and Tabitha. But it's also a reminder of how much craziness has happened from season 1, episode 10 to now. Because when they're asking Elgin, who are you? He's like, I'm from the bus. And they're like, what bus? What are you talking about? They don't know who he is. They don't know what he's talking about because so much has happened in 24 hours. They've only been gone less than 24 hours and so much has changed. Now, it's important to note that Victor does tell Boyd he doesn't trust Elgin. I don't know why. And he asks him, did you find what you were looking for, on your little quest? And he shows Boyd the drawing he's drawing. He's like, pictures, once again, he says, pictures can help you remember. And when they get off the truck, because Tabitha finds out from Elgin that the house caved in, so she runs off towards the town. And when they start to head out, Boyd sees the worms crawling in his arm, just like we saw it did with Sarah last season and like we just saw moments before with Martin. And when he looks up, Victor is looking at him. Victor saw it too. And I'm assuming Elgin saw it because Elgin was standing right next to him, but it showed Victor seeing it. Boyd knows that Victor knows, that Victor knows all that. They know, right? Victor knows that Boyd knows that Victor knows. Whether Elgin knows, I don't know. And then the only other thing I think we're missing is the guy and girl that went into the bar or gas station, whatever. And they were safe because there was a talisman there. And they had ran off before hearing the full scoop. Because they're saying this will be a funny story we tell when we get home, da-da-da-da. But the guy goes to open the door because they hear a knock. And the people are like, we were on a bus. And we know the monsters can sound normal. And the girl is shaking her head. Nope, don't do it. But we do see him open the door and it ends that way. So yeah, this was a great episode. It's exciting whenever you get new characters. Some of our characters are going through it heavy right now. Hopefully they can just come together and everyone work together and we'll see what happens. But I thought this was a very good episode. I'm excited to see how these new characters react, especially because we were with Jim and his family when they ran into the town and they had to hear it all themselves. And now we're seeing it again from a new perspective, from a large group of people who are strangers essentially to each other as well. Like, the bus people don't really know each other. They've been on a bus for a few hours together. So that's about it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this season goes. I look forward to talking about the next few episodes. So I'll be back shortly with episode 3 from season 2. And then I get to watch the new episode, season 4, season 2. So once again, you guys want to be part of the podcast, hit me up, host@theverdictsend.com. That's HOST @theverdictsend.com. And if you're wondering what theverdictsend.com has to do with Small Screen Sagas, that is our other podcast that I host with my husband, Gary. So definitely check that out. If this is your first time listening to me, then you'll have other podcasts to listen to when it's me and Gary together podcasting some great shows such as The Walking Dead. And we'll be doing the spinoffs from that. And at least the Maggie and Negan spinoff, we'll do that. And we've done Game of Thrones and a lot of other cool shows. So definitely check us out wherever you see The Verdicts In. All right. Until then, I'm Nicole. Talk to you later. Bye.